Welcome back. If you watched the previous video, you'd have seen me stripping these shoes, these and a few other pairs actually. They're alligator skins, and I'd strip the skins with alcohol to sort of remove any old polish, any surface films, anything that might be there. We really do need access to the skins because they're going to get moisturised. They do look a little bit dry and a bit sorry, you know, that's absolutely nothing to worry about. When they've been stripped with alcohol, that's usually the case. What I don't think I did at the time on video, I don't think I cleaned them inside, pulled the trees out, so I'll be doing that. Bit of alcohol on a piece of cotton wool inside, you know, really sort of clean anything off, any dirt, completely sanitize them. And I'll do the same with the soles. I think, in fact, yes, I've already done the soles. I've already ran the alcohol over the soles. You need to get any oils away. The moisturizer really needs to be able to sink in. We don't want the moisturizer sitting on top of any residues. So let's have a look. This pair, I was going to sell both pairs and a few other pairs I've looked out. Now that I've got these out, they fit me so well, and I've never really worn them before, I've never got around to moisturise them. I'm not sure that I'm going to sell them, but I am going to sell these, and forgive the way they look at the moment. These will come up looking absolutely spectacular over the next 2 weeks. Bear in mind, they've been stripped with alcohol and they've lost a little bit of colour. That always happens, but the moisturiser will put the colour back in. These are around about a UK 8. They're quite slim. And once again, I've actually not got around to running the sanitizer, not the moisturiser. I keep saying moisturiser, I mean alcohol on the inside. If I try and get the angle of the light slightly differently, I don't know. Can't really. But I'll try and make a better film of the inside. They really are in beautiful condition inside, but they haven't been sanitized with alcohol. It just needs a quick lick over with alcohol and to remove any sort of bacteria or any residue that might be left behind. But it's important to get moisturizer on the insides. It's only leather and it does dry out. There are a few numbers on the inside which I don't think I'm going to be able to pick up I don't think the camera, because of the light, it's very poor light outside and I'm relying on an LED. There are numbers just down here, but I don't think that's coming up on camera, and I'm sure it's not. I certainly can't see it in the monitor. But it's a beautiful shoe. You know, it has its original sole, original heel. They're made by Johnson & Murphy around about 1940, but they're way too small for me. I've had them a long time and I've just never really done anything with them other than put the odd little bit of moisturiser on. So I am going to be, I'm going to sell them. I've finally bitten the bullet and I've sold a few pairs recently. And let me just reach around here and get a bit of cotton wool, some gloves. I've been in the same sort of scruffy building type clothes for quite a few weeks now, and I'm in the UK here, and I'm a hairdresser actually, and under this COVID lockdown, my salon's been closed. We're approaching 3 months, so I've just been wearing these, you know, these old dusty and scruffy clothes, doing essential works. You know, I was prepared for the first month. You know, I thought we'll be closed for a month, and so I just did the basics, you know, but cosmetics and a few minor repairs. But we're entering the 3rd month, and I've been in here every single day. And I've really gone to town. I've even taken parts of the roof off and repaired it, replaced it. I've had all the windows out of the frames, repaired all the damage. It's been an enormous task. And then on top of that, all the cosmetics. That's why I'm constantly in these dusty, dirty clothes. But right, let me get the. I'm going to start with the pair that are for sale. Let's do those first. Fiddling about here because I'm in a window and I've got that much around me. Yes, first things first. I just need to get a little bit of solvent. This is just isopropyl alcohol. It's in a rather large container, so it's a bit awkward. I do tend to splash it about just on cotton wool. I'm just gonna. They do look quite clean inside, you know, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this anyway. Just to. It's quite wet, and apply it fairly liberally. Anything that's here we go. That's. It's quite wet, right up behind there. That area tends to get quite dry on the skin and it can crack there. And behind the tongs, just we do not want anything to be left behind. No evidence that they've been on somebody else's feet. We don't want any. Who knows what's been inside these things? You know, an insect could have crawled inside. I don't know. They're from the 1940s. They're very old. I'm struggling now to get my fingers right down into the toe area. There we go. Yeah, it's brought off a little bit of dirt and dust and who knows, but if it's a nice surface, we can just apply the moisturiser to the inside too. Let's just quickly do the other one. And I'll do exactly the same to the slightly larger pair, which I'd considered selling, but on second thoughts, I don't know, I might not. I have sold some. I've sold a few pairs that are way too large for me. Very nice pair of John Lobb. They're on the way to America. Very nice pair of Bespoke Foster & Son too. Both crocodile skin and in remarkable condition, but they're way too big for me. And there's nothing I could do to try and make those fit. Now then, here we go. That looks a lot better. In fact, there's quite a lot of dirt on that. Let's chuck that one away and I'll get a fresh one. It always pays to sanitize and clean a shoe that's been pre-owned. You just oops, I've thrown the solvent absolutely everywhere, but never mind. It'll evaporate in a few minutes. It's just alcohol. That's better. Yeah, so this is a habit I always do before I ever try any second-hand shoe on. Just rubbing alcohol on the inside. It's a little bit fiddly, especially on such a pointy toe. I'm struggling to get my fingers down there. There we go, that's it, and all of the inner lining. Let's just give the soles a quick lick. I'm pretty sure I've already done that, but we don't want anything behind when I come to apply the moisturisers to the sole. It's absolutely, it's critical really to moisturise the soles. There we go, that's fallen, but I'm done. And I'm going to pop the trees back in whilst they're still wet. But as I was saying to you, it's very important to moisturise the soles as well as the linings. It's only leather and it does dry out. Even though it's really rather thick, it will dry out. And when it dries out, it cracks. I'm just going to put the lid back on my alcohol. This is what I've been using, isopropyl alcohol. If you can see that in the... put that out of harm's way. And I get my towel. I've got a new pot of moisturiser. This is black. It's a leather moisturising cream. It's not a polish. It's a cream. It's a moisturiser with added pigment, and yeah, you never really put polish onto exotic skins. And, what I need my rag, and I'm fishing around behind me for a brush. I know it's there. There it is. There's really nothing more to moisturising exotic skins than what I'm about to do. Just use the coloured cream, and you have to stir it into the skin really quite well. It absorbs through the edges of the skins, the scales, I beg your pardon. The edging of the scale, the skin's more porous, it's more flexible. The top of the scale itself, the actual scale, can be rather shiny and impervious. Bear in mind the nature of the alligator. They spend an awful lot of time in water. So the skin can be quite impervious to moisture. But what happens, it sucks in, really draws the cream a lot more around the scale itself in the softer skin, and it draws quite quickly. So in order to allow the creams to absorb more evenly, you have to sort of use a stiff brush and agitate it and kind of force it into the gaps in the cracks and the softer, more flexible skin between the scales. So this really is all that you do with exotic skin, and it's not a case of just doing it once. The first time you apply this, bear in mind it isn't a polish. I'm going to get this all down onto the welting and the sole edging. That's just skin. In the past, I've cleared everything off. There would have been a shiny glaze, and I've cleaned that off with very fine wet and dry, I think, and so it's just leather now. But it is skin, and it will dry out and it will crack. But I disturbed myself. What I was trying to say to you was, when you first apply the first coat of moisturiser, when it's dry and you give that off, the skin comes up looking absolutely beautiful. It really does look stunning, and the intensity of colour, compared with what was there before. And it's very, very easy to be fooled and think that, wow, that skin's very well moisturised and that's ready to go. It usually couldn't be further from the truth. Exotic skins, alligators, crocodiles, snake, those type of things, lizard, they do dry out far more than regular skins, like regular calf and buckskin, that type of thing. It just dries out spectacularly, but it dries out not so much the scale, that's already itself slightly dry, a bit like fingernail. It's the flesh between the scales and the flesh behind the scales that really dries out. And that itself starts to tear and give way, and you can actually lose scales. The scales fall away, which is truly awful. It's a disaster if that happens. So it's imperative to get this moisturiser to be drawn between the scales and behind the scale itself. And that doesn't happen quickly. It happens over a period of days and weeks. I think I'll have to moisturise this pair at least 10 times. Exactly what I'm doing here. Just rub in a good liberal amount all over into the heel area, right down into the stitching and the welting, all under there's an apron on top here, just everywhere I can get my sort of fingernail and poke it in. But what we don't want to do is leave a load of cream sitting on the surface. That doesn't work. I've made the mistake years ago. I thought, well, I'll apply it really heavy and thick, like Vaseline almost, and come back when it's sucked it in. What doesn't happen, this is what you have to do. You apply it to the surface. You have to sort of stir it and agitate it and help it to be forced between the scales. What happens, because the skin between the scales is slightly more porous, actually it's a lot more porous, it's a lot more absorbent. It sucks quite quickly, but it doesn't absorb and draw the cream in uniformly. It pulls certain properties within the cream first that are more readily absorbed, and it leaves behind the ones that are more difficult to absorb. And it just leaves a sticky, horrible mess which doesn't absorb, and they're the properties that the skin particularly needs. So that is all I would do to this shoe today. I would literally apply the cream, just like I've just shown you here, and then stir it in. Make sure there's nothing visible sitting on the surface. The skin looks slightly matte, a bit listless, a bit dull, and it's slightly damp to the touch. And I'll leave that at least 12 hours, but I'll actually come back to it tomorrow. I'll do the other shoe, and likewise do the lining. That is just regular skin. That won't need the same level of stirring and agitation. Just a couple of wipes with a cloth, just to allow that, and that will draw quite easily because that's just regular calf skin on the inside. So not to worry about the linings, but it's quite difficult to fully moisturise the Alligator. I will do the other pair as well, but it's just a repetitive process. I won't do that on this video. It's tedious to watch. But so that's one moisturised shoe. That's one shoe that's been rubbed down with alcohol and left. They will both get moisturised, and I'll come back to this again tomorrow. And it only takes about 5 minutes each time, and every time you have to rub it with a brush. You can't just leave it sitting on the surface. You'll come back to be like chewing gum sitting there. Now eventually this skin will stop drawing, and if you saw me do in fact they're over here, these lovely lizard skins, they took a month to moisturise. It just kept on drawing and kept on drawing. Eventually they just stopped drawing, and I knew they were fully moisturised. But if anybody's interested in these shoes, I will be selling them, like I say to you. They're around about a UK 8, quite narrow. I don't know what the measurements are, if I'm truly honest with you. I can make another video where I can do some measurements with tape. You tape measure and measure all, if anybody's interested. But perhaps send me a message, because much though I love these, I think they're amazing. 1940s Johnston & Murphy. They don't fit me, they'll never fit me, and I'm going to be selling a few. So yeah. Do give me just send me a direct message if you can. I'm going to cut this short, and we'll come back to these in 2 or 3 days. I'll do a few more applications of the moisturiser off camera. Then I'll bring them back when they're a lot more finished, and the soles and the internals, and so they'll just be a lot more presentable. They still won't be ready. It's going to take 2 weeks minimum to moisturise these shoes. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I look forward to presenting it to you again in a couple of days.